أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طريقتنا الصحبة والخير في الجمعية. We said we will talk every day about about a surah that is in every juz. So we're reading today, talking today about the second juz. We are behind a little bit. We'll catch up inshallah, but we'll talk about the second juz. And in the first juz we said is Fatiha. We talk about Fatiha. Second juz, it is all Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah is the second surah in Holy Quran, and it is the longest surah, and it is very special, has special fada'il, special attributes that make it stand out among other surahs. As we said, it is the longest surah, and also in it is the longest verse. The longest ayah in Holy Quran is in Surah Al-Baqarah. It's towards the end. It's the last, not the last page, but the page before it. It is the whole page in the Mus'haf, one verse, and it is called the verse of contracts, Al-Uqud. It is giving all the rules for writing contracts. So Surah Al-Baqarah has lots of rules and lots of shara'i', a lot of fiqh in it. It was revealed in Medina, it's Madaniyah, except for the last two verses. And we will talk about these last two verses tomorrow, inshallah. But Surah Al-Baqarah has discusses issues like talaq, divorce, about inheritance, about jihad, about contracts, as we said, and about riba, usury, money transactions, and of course it contains also the best ayah in the whole Quran, which is Ayat al-Kursi. So we'll talk about Ayat al-Kursi and the last two verses tomorrow, inshallah. But it is well known about Surah Al-Baqarah because they say it is the first verse revealed in Medina after Fatiha. We said Fatiha revealed also in Medina. So the first surah that was revealed in Medina after Fatiha was Surah Al-Baqarah, and it deals immediately at the very beginning about dividing the community in Medina into three groups: ones who are believers, ones who are non-believers, and ones who are hypocrites. And this was the first time that hypocrites, munafiqeen, were apparent in the Muslim community. Before in Mecca there was no hypocrites, they were either Muslim or non-Muslim. But nowadays, because the Muslims became powerful in Medina and maybe like a majority, so there were some people who were not convinced, they did not convert, but at the same time to live within the society they pretended that they are Muslims. So this is important for us even today, because there is levels of iman and there are levels of nifaq in any community, any Muslim community. And we as Sufis, we are not pointing fingers and saying that this one is mu'min, this one is kafir, and this one is munafiq. No, we are looking at ourselves and we are saying, in us there is mu'min, in us there is kafir, in us there is munafiq. And we have to look and try to figure out who is who and which is which within ourselves. So this is important from that aspect. The most important is in this surah I want to talk about is that about the name, why it comes from Surah Al-Baqarah, and it is about the story of Bani Israel. There is a lot of references to Bani Israel in this surah. As we explained, they had this problem of nifaq in them, that there were mu'mins, and among the Bani Israel there were people with weak iman or outright nifaq. Anyway, so the story goes that there is a man who didn't have any children. He's wealthy, so he took care of his brother's sons three sons, and he took them until they became older and this, and then in the will he wrote all his things for his sons. But they became greedy and they don't want to wait for him to die, so they murdered him. They murdered him, and then they put the body between two villages. And then they pretended that they are looking for their uncle. Where's our uncle? Where's? And then somebody, one of the shepherds, found the body, and because of where the location was, they start to blame the next door village, and there was a lot of fitna started because of this murder. So they said, to solve this, we will call Nabi Musa. So they called Sayyidina Musa, and Sayyidina Musa went to Allah Almighty and he asked, and Allah told him, tell them to slaughter a cow. And then the Holy Quran describes that they are debating with Sayyidina Musa, saying, are you considered, do you mock us, you making jokes, yani we are telling you about important thing, about a murder and maybe a war between two villages, and you're talking about killing a cow. And of course, if you are a farmer, you will know that it is not a good practice to slaughter a cow, because the cow brings milk, it brings other calves and other cows later on. So normally when they slaughter the males, they don't slaughter the females. So they were very reluctant, yani, to slaughter. They don't want to do it. So they kept asking questions and negotiating, trying to prolong or to delay, or maybe they say maybe he's going to forget about it or something. But eventually they ask, and Prophet Musa, he gives them answers, and he said to them, do as you are told, stop asking questions and do as you are told. And finally they find the right cow and they slaughter it, and Sayyidina Musa tells them to touch the body with the tail of that slaughtered cow, and he comes back to life, just enough to point at his nephews that they are the ones who killed him. But say Bani Israel, they saw this miracle in front of their eyes, and some of them, they believed strongly more in Sayyidina Musa, and some of them still, who are hypocrite, they are saying this is sihr, this is magic, so they didn't accept. So this is lessons for us, for Muslims, not to be like that, not to be negotiating, not to be asking too many questions. One of the Sahaba of Prophet ﷺ, he said, Nuhina an kathrat su'al. We were prohibited from asking too many questions, because too many questions brings less faith in one's heart. You are destroying your faith. This shaitan comes to you saying to you, oh, you must clarify, you must understand, but in reality it is just eating away at your faith. You are breaking away your faith, because by asking more questions, it brings up more questions, and then it sets in doubt, sets into your heart, and then you eventually lose your faith. So Allah Almighty, He is warning us Muslims not to be like this, not to be asking, but to say Sami'na wa ata'na. And we are going to say this tomorrow about the last two verses, because it's at the end it says Sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. We hear and obey. We don't hear and question. Questioning, debating, and negotiating is poison for our faith in our heart. ومن الله توفيق. الفاتحة. تقبل الله. Thank you very much.